Yes. Haha. Yes. It's trade deadline review day. Settle in. How do I look on YouTube? Because I'm kind of in a black, would you call it a motif?
No. Certainly.
Silver and black.
You're kind of blending into the wallpaper behind you.
That's got to be hot.
Yeah, you're like a chameleon. Because you can always...
chameleon, Boy George.
Now we're going to start with another person that's not really in my purview. I know Boy George.
Oh, do you really? Let's get him on and get his thoughts on the
he passed
the young
away
trade.
like 25 years ago?
No.
Is he still with us?
Yes, which is why I would like him on at 10:15 to get his take on the DeYoung trade.
Okay. I don't know who I go through for that.
Culture Club.
Yeah, he's 62 years young.
Right.
Another British singer right off the bat here on Balloon Party.
Yeah, the poor Culture Club had a falling out when Boy George started hooking up with their drummer. And I think that just caused problems because I think the bassist was interested in Boy George as well. That's not what caused the Cardinal problems this year, at least as far as we know. It was more of a pitching situation. And now it'll be fun to watch people go out and pitch the remainder of the season because they probably wouldn't be pitching for 90% of the other major league teams this year. But here come the Cardinals. Jackson, last night, the trade deadline comes to a conclusion. I set the over-under at 4.5 on the number of Cardinals on the current roster getting traded, and you immediately jumped on the under, and you got paid handsomely.
I did, yeah.
But what did I say in Predictionary? This is where you do sports talk radio, or I told you so, but when you're wrong, you act like it didn't happen.
In Predictionary, Tim, you entered in, where is my notes app?
Excuse me? That's what I said? Well, this show's worse than I thought it was.
Jack and Monty will be traded. Extra points for Orioles and Dodgers.
Ship it.
So you got, 3 out of the 4 things there. All right.
Oh, that's horse crap to say I got something wrong.
Right. I'm sorry. I just forgot we were doing Sports Talk Radio. You actually said Rangers, and I entered it in wrong.
No, I didn't say exactly where they would go. I said I think that they will be doing a deal with Orioles or Dodgers.
Right. And they did do a deal with the Orioles. And
then when Eduardo Rodriguez refused to go to the Dodgers, the thought process, at least on the MLB network, was, it looks like the Dodgers really avoided Jack Flaherty. For all of the Twitter mentions directed towards Jack Flaherty about going to Los Angeles since, August, September 2020, coincidentally, the Los Angeles didn't really show interest in Jack Flaherty because I'll tell you what, the Dan Orlovsky giving takes and being confused with his head in his hands is just so distracting to me, even though it's essentially what goes on. I mean, I have Stephen A. Smith, Dan Orlovsky, and Chris Russo essentially doing Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and Hulk Hogan, except with sports news over your head right now, and it's distracting. It distracted me. I'm not flawless.
Tim, you know I'm well-versed in men's jewelry, and Dan Orlovsky wears a white wedding ring. It's a move I've never seen before. Wow,
sounds like you don't like it. Very critical. I wonder if we have any listeners who wear white wedding rings. Your thoughts? Leave a mic drop. 101 ESPN app, 314-399-9646. Jackson, not a fan.
It's a tad look at me.
Is that right? On that show?
Right.
I'm going to get back into this Cardinal trade deadline and also the Boy George dynamic and culture club with the bassist and the drummer. And then Boy George will join us at 10:15 to get his take on the DeYoung trade. The Cardinals did wind up doing business with the Orioles. Dan O'Dowd on MLB Network after the Orioles were getting praise goes, I don't get it. I don't like it. Flaherty's just kind of another guy, you know? He goes, and on top of it, Flaherty would have been great if he would have gone in Los Angeles where you have Clayton Kershaw and you have Joe Kelly and Lance Lynn, and he doesn't have to lead a staff through the playoffs, but he's going to be the veteran arm on a staff that already has way too many innings and try to navigate the AL East and the American League playoffs. I don't like that for the Baltimore Orioles. Now, it had nothing to do with who the Orioles gave up. It was more about he just wasn't real high on Jack Flaherty. And I think at the final hour of the trade deadline, we realized that Jack Flaherty did not necessarily have the value in the eyes of other baseball teams, at the very least the buyers, as perhaps Cardinal fans may have hoped, or some Cardinal fans always thought that was just the way that it was. But either way, you get paid off on the under on 4.5, and you didn't even have a sweat, really.
Yeah. I for sure thought DeYoung would have been dealt yesterday. That came through early.
I feel like Flaherty was a given.
Yeah.
I would have thought an outfielder would have gone.
Yeah, but that would have got me at 3, so I was still comfortable there. I had a really good feeling DeYoung was going to.
I thought they would package some people up to get a higher return. Here, Tim. What is your macro take? Thanks for asking.
That was me who asked that.
That's correct.
With
a deeper and more masculine sound, though.
Right. Yeah, I learned from Boy George.
That's right. I feel like what happens in St. Louis when it comes to Cardinal discussion, and maybe you can observe this yourself, maybe you have been observing it yourself, is at the trade deadline, well, now it'll be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. And then the offseason rolls around and not much happens. You go, well, it'll be interesting to see what they'll do at the trade deadline because now they have some #dry powder. And then we go around to the trade deadline again. You might get a guy out of a tree stand in John Lester for a guy who becomes an all-star outfielder. It's still called a good deal because you put together a big winning streak and then got knocked out in one-game playoff. And they go, well, see what we'll do at the trade deadline. Then the trade deadline rolls around. You go, well, we'll see what we'll do at the offseason. Then the offseason rolls, you go, well, we'll see what we'll do at the trade deadline. You see what I'm saying?
Vicious cycle.
Aye. I think the Cardinals are far away from winning a World Series. Now, if you want to talk about National League Central, now we're lowering the bar. That's up to you. On this program, what do? We win championships.
It's true. Just look at us.
Right.
Championship caliber players.
Right. Like if I'm playing in a golf tournament, and I don't get to do that because I didn't go to Ladue High School, and I grew up in South St. Louis, and I'm Tam Avenue, and I had 3 siblings, and, it wasn't easy for us, so I was on Tower T, and if I was lucky, I got on Ruth Park as part of a fivesome. So I don't know, but I know this, if I were lucky enough to play in a golf tournament, and I'll be off next Thursday and Friday playing in one, that I don't go out going, oh, I hope I can win the C flight. The National League Central's the C flight.
Yeah, that might be giving it too much credit.
Right. We're out here to win championships. Now, the Cardinals, are we in agreement? And I'll ask Boy George this. Are we in agreement that the Cardinals are 3 starters away minimum? Because now we're operating on based on the last month that Steven Matz is like counting.
Extend them.
Right. The Cardinals need 3 starters. And that's pairing them with Miles Michaelis and Steven Matz. So it's not like it's pairing them with 2009 Chris Carpenter and Adam Wainwright. Then if that is the case, and they already have $100+ million committed to Goldschmidt Arenado, corner outfielder with occasional appearances at catcher, calling for knuckleballs, Wilson Contreras, and Steven Matz and Miles Michaelis, then how does this team get back to world championship contention with that being where they are and what they need? And it's not like whomever they pursue in the offseason via free agency, they will be the only ones pursuing them. So from my standpoint, it strikes me as a long haul to get there, which is why I personally would have rather have seen the Cardinals do something that they've never done. But then again, they really haven't been sellers like this in the Bill DeWitt era. And that is be open to being more aggressive, because I think that would have been more accurate to where the team is versus this statement of we're going to return to contention in 2024. Well, sure, it'd be lovely, but I don't think that necessarily means it's likely. But if contention is the National League Central, then sure. But what did we talk about going into the year? I know what we talked about going into the year. We talked about, I guess they'll win the National League Central. At least they'll be in the mix of the National League Central. But I don't think that this is a world championship team.
That was the consensus.
Yeah. On this particular program. I can't speak for other shows and what other people are saying. Jackson, what do you think?
I have a would you rather for you, Tim.
Oh, wow.
I have a little would you rather. Okay. Looking forward to 2024.
Is this taking away from the Angry Beaver? What is today? Half and half?
No, this is a freestyle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a bonus. This and Boy George all in 1 hour of midday radio?
Can't say I don't work. Let's see.
So you didn't have the question. You said you were going to do it.
Dramatic pause.
Got it. Jim Rome.
Yep. 2024. 3 spots to fill in the starting rotation. Would you prefer the Cardinals, say, take Liberatore, insert him, you bring up name AAA arm, let's say Gordon Graceffo, and then go out and get a blue chip stock like an Aaron Nola or a Blake Snell? Or would you prefer the Cardinals to go out and get 2 or maybe even 3, maybe guys a little bit past their prime, but certainly more of a budget play, but players with MLB service time, and do it that way? So would you prefer them to spend that money that they would spend on a blue chip stock across 2 or 3 pitchers, or would you rather get the one big boy and then fill the rest of the holes up?
I respect the question. I don't think the second scenario is necessarily realistic, but even operating on the premise that that is a realistic option, I would say option 1.
Right.
You need somebody to get you through October. If the goal is getting through October, and when you look at the Cardinals World Championships, they had that guy in Chris Carpenter and in Chris Carpenter in 6 and 11. And in 13, you had that guy. You know who the guy was?
Michael Wacha.
It was Michael Wacha. Yeah.
Like 21 or 22 years old.
It was Michael Wacha. And maybe there's a guy that they just acquired, or, maybe it's Graceffo. Who knows who emerges at this point? It would be tough to imagine it being Matthew Liberatore. I don't know. But that guy isn't there. It doesn't mean Miles Michaelis is a bad pitcher. Just I wouldn't put Miles Michaelis in that class. Aaron Nola, we saw last year. He started off slowly this year for the Phillies. Phillies added a pitcher yesterday with Michael Lorenzen. And we saw the pecking order in which trades went down, that it was Verlander, then the dam broke, and then Lorenzen of the Tigers, then Eduardo Rodriguez of the Tigers, but he rejected it. I don't say he rejected it. It was his no trade list. It's not like he just was adhering to his contract. And then he became the bad guy on the Twitter tweets yesterday afternoon. Like, how about this guy wants to stay in Detroit? Well, he has family. It's on the East Coast. Yeah. And it's a 6-hour flight. So sorry, he prioritizes his family over going to the Dodgers, but he put a no-trade list together for a reason. Dodgers are rarely on no-trade lists. Lance Lynn was on the had the Cardinals on his no-trade list.
But also a strategy that some of these guys do, including Lance Lynn, is put the big boys with a no-trade. So that
because then you have to get them to say, okay, I'll pick up their option in 2024 because I know they can. Whereas if I put the Pirates on there, I'd be like, well, we don't have anything to do. And so then Jack Flaherty goes at like 4:50 St. Louis time, and it goes to the Orioles, who said that they were focused on their rotation, but really kind of got the last guy standing, and that was Jack Flaherty.
Yep.
So the Cardinals also trade Paul DeJong, and that was the third and final deal with the Blue Jays. Jordan Hicks and Cabrera pitched last night. Both were hit pretty hard. Cabrera had been great, but he got hit for the first time since going to Toronto last night, and Hicks got hit as well. DeJong will make his debut, you would think, here shortly. He was flying up to Toronto, and so the Cardinal trade deadline comes and goes. But I think if the Cardinals were only going to trade the guys who were up after this year, then this is within the realm of reason what you would expect as far as a return. Mostly players you haven't heard of to supplement the minor league system. And ideally, 1 or 2 hit. You're not looking for all the, of course you would like all to hit, but realistically, you're wanting 1 or 2 to hit, and then it gives you minor league depth. And the Cardinals, that's what they did. I agree with what John Mozeliak said yesterday. I know saying, like I agreed with John Mozeliak looking into what the Dodgers would offer for Nolan Arenado. I don't think that makes him a bad guy. And I also agree with his statement yesterday, and I'm paraphrasing unless you happen to have it ready to go, but I was watching that press conference yesterday in which he said the major league ready pitchers who could help the team in 2024 are usually that are going to be available are usually on the teams that are pursuing winning now. And therefore, if they are indeed buyers, they're not going to trade a pitcher who is currently helping them win a division or a playoff spot. Right. So what took place yesterday is likely setting up for a trade in the offseason for a pitcher. Right. With a team that currently is in the mix for a postseason spot. You follow that? I feel like you're looking at me like you're either mesmerized by these baby blues or you're just confused by what I'm saying. For just a brief moment, I lost concentration, and I came back in, and I was just absolutely lost. Was it Debbie Gibson who sang "Lost in Your Eyes"? I get lost. Am I right? I'm just the worst person to ask these questions to. Yeah, we have Boy George coming up, so I guess I can ask him. See if he remembers. Lost in your eyes, but I feel like that's what just happened when I laid out what was going on. In other words, talking with who's a buyer who the Cardinals would be in business with potentially.
The Orioles.
Yeah, that's like the one where it doesn't work because they got real pitching questions. But a team that's in the mix for a playoff spot that has a pitcher that might not be, is like a number 4. Now, as it turned out, the Mariners went more seller route, or at least became sellers, and put Teoscar Hernandez on the market, and they got no takers. But that kind of team, if you're in the mix for a playoff spot, you're not going to go, oh, well, this guy is currently killing it for us, so let's trade him because then that gets us Jack Flaherty. It's not the way that it's going to work. But again, the issue with it, as I have from a big picture in the last few years standpoint, is we keep kicking the can down the road. And I felt like the Cardinals were in a rare spot this trade deadline to have valuable commodities with whom they could package other valuable commodities and really begin the process to ascending to a championship contender, not just a contender for the National League Central. And in order to get, you got to give, but the Cardinals weren't necessarily comfortable with giving. I thought they played it relatively safe. Yes, they certainly added to the depth chart at the minor league level, and hopefully a few of those guys become major league contributors. But with that said, I just thought it was a relatively speaking conservative trade deadline. But I was on the air saying I would have liked to have seen them trade Paul Goldschmidt and Wilson Contreras, understanding they would have to go New York Mets and eat a lot of that salary, but to begin the process of turning the page. And that's not where the organization is, and maybe they will wind up being right. I personally think it will be very difficult to imagine that we are sitting in Jupiter, Florida in the month of February feeling like the Cardinals have a great rotation, but maybe they will. It just strikes me that when you have 60% of the spots at a minimum to fill, and we don't know who those people are, and there's a good chance that 3 of them play for different teams right now, at the minimum 2 of them do, that strikes me as a long way to go. Also, while relying on Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt holding serve with their production, Wilson Contreras not being a drag on the payroll, and Steven Matz continuing what he's done in July as opposed to what he has done for the majority of his time in St. Louis, and Miles Michaelis at the moment being your number 1 starter. And your closer is now with the Toronto Blue Jays, and that's operating on the premise that you hope Helsley returns to form when he comes back. So with all of that said, your thoughts are welcome. 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line. The Lil Piddles Half and Half, presented by Angry Beaver, coming your way. This is Balloon Party, driven by Mungan St. Louis Acura and Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN. Mungan St. Louis Acura and Alton Toyota, the presenting sponsor of Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. And also the place where my family gets our cars. stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com is where you can go shopping right now, or you can text the number that is reserved for our listeners. And that number is 314-252-0029. It's Mungan St. Louis Acura and Alton Toyota. And you can work with the great Jamie Burkhardt, Clayton Patterson, and Peter Munganast. Now, even if you didn't get your car from Munganast, you can still get your car serviced. You need repairs, go to Munganast St. Louis Acura or Alton Toyota and work with these fine people I have gotten to know over the last few years. It's stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com, and it is Munganast. And any questions you may have, any requests you may have, just call or text 314-252-0029. That number is set up specifically for our listeners. It's Munganast, stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com. Welcome back. Yeah, it is time for the Lil Piddles Half and Half, presented by the wonderful people at the Angry Beaver, just south of Busch Stadium, where the Cardinals lost last night to the Minnesota Twins. Do we have the question that was asked of Ali Marmol regarding Noah Arenado?
Yeah, I can pull that up here. Just give me one.
Stephen Wildwood claims he left a mic drop, and now when it's not being played, he's going to change your name to Vladimir and say that you are censoring him and his viewpoints.
This is the weird thing about the mic drops. Like, it's not in there. I'm not going to lie. It's just not.
So do you think Marshy Marsh and his Playful Posse deleted it?
I don't know.
I mean, that's a serious charge you're making.
No, I didn't make the charge. That's the thing. It's like Stephen Wildwood can just say, I did this or I didn't play that. And everyone's like, yep, Jackson's guilty. Like, does my word mean nothing? Does it mean nothing?
Also, your weird fans are fighting in the YouTube chat. That's from the 636. Now, Jackson, you went into the YouTube chat and you said they're arguing about Illinois and Kansas football. I mean, what a...
Yeah, it's a real hot topic right now.
I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, so I don't know. What is that what they're arguing about?
Yeah, a little bit of that. People showing that they're K-State fans instead. Shout out to Little
Every
Apple.
man a Wildcat.
Yeah. They're calling Mizzou a clown fan base.
Wow, it's good to have the college football stuff getting going here.
I love it. Trust me.
I didn't expect it. I don't believe we even talked about it. We talked to little Boy George, a little Debbie Gibson, and a little Cardinal trade deadline.
Marshy Marsh just texted me, I would never delete a Steve mic drop.
Well, then somebody is being lied to.
Or maybe Stephen Wildwood just didn't leave a mic drop. Like, it is, like, I don't know why the onus is always on me. Like, he can lie. He has no affiliation. His paycheck isn't affected if he does or doesn't leave a mic drop. I don't think. I don't think he's getting paid.
What the hell is wrong with you, Jackson? Dissing Steve and Marsh? That's from the 636.
What's the point?
Oh, my God. Did you just give up?
I'm a defeated man.
Do you have the Noah Arenado,
Son of a gun.
Ali Marmol? Oh, boy.
I do. What am I talking about? I sometimes surprise myself with how prudent I can be. All right.
Have you had any conversations with Noah Arenado recently about his performance in the field? He's been struggling a lot of today's good example. Barely missed it, or are you guys leaving it alone and he'll figure it out with Noah Arenado?
You think he's been struggling lately?
Big situations, a couple of hits, not, again, at bats. Have you had any conversation with him?
I'll let you ask him that question. Yeah.
And we're off. Should be a fun final 8 weeks of the campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
For the record, he is, I think 2 for his last 18.
Yeah, I believe that is the number we read on TMA earlier today. Yeah, I mean, but But when you ask the manager after the trade deadline, you got 2 months of basically non-competitive baseball. I would be on board if they started asking, like, you know, what's your favorite snack when you go to the movie theater? Like, stuff like that. Like, that interests me more
And you
than...
have seen Barbie and...
Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
I saw Oppenheimer twice.
Wow, have you really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By yourself?
Second time by myself, yeah.
Who'd you go with the first time?
Private Citizen Pete.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did he like it?
Well, he's a little... He didn't like the storytelling aspect of it, but that's why I think
that's the film.
Right, but I disagreed with him, and also I think that the second viewing is very helpful for that, as with many Nolan films. But regardless, I would like questions like that. Like, stop at, like, I truly, I know personally I don't. Maybe some other people feel differently, but like that kind of question right there, it's not the reporter's fault. What else do you ask? You know, like, are those losses in May going to help us in September? Like,
that was said after a loss in San Francisco. Was that in April or May?
Right.
Jackson, what about Whitesnake and Tawny? That's from the 314. Did you do some research last night? You promised our audience you would. You took a lot of shrapnel yesterday for not being familiar with Whitesnake, Tawny Katane. You're making an awkward face, and now that we're on YouTube, you can't hide.
No, I've a sudden flare of knee pain that's
going on?
Has appeared, and it's like it's stifling. God bless America. I don't know what's happened. On the Whitesnake and Tawny Katane front, I did zero research last night.
Nice.
I'm still not well versed in their what's it called, discography, and I know very little about them. And honestly, I don't think it's important for me to know much about them. I know they exist, and ultimately, isn't that the important part? Man, my knee hurts.
What's going on? You need to get Good Morning Grant to come in here and help out?
No. It might be a cramp. I'm going to stretch
Well,
it
I would
out.
assume. What else is it going to be?
I don't know.
Blow it out sitting over there giving takes?
I guess, yeah. Well, this is a dangerous industry.
Seeing movies multiple times in theaters is psychopathic. Thank you, 636.
Thinking, judging other people with what they do on their free time is psychopathic, in my opinion. But hey, different strokes, different folks.
Wow.
I got a basketball game tonight, Tim. I can't have knee pain like this.
We've lost Stephen Wildwood's mic drop. Or
not
Marshy Marsh deleted it.
That's still an option.
Or Steve didn't leave it.
Most
Jackson
likely.
blew out his knee sitting in a chair at the age of 25. Boy George was not ready at 10:15.
No, he said we need 10:45. He's getting ready.
Guys, lots of college sports debate in that YouTube chat for people who got their GEDs. That's from the 636. Boy, oh boy. It's getting hostile, man. I guess people know that this season for the Missouri Tigers is going to be a special one. Over 6.5 wins.
All day.
Bank it.
All day.
Bank it.
All day.
I mean, what do we do here?
Right.
Do I bet the entire bankroll?
I think they could get you almost all the way there before we reach the second week of October.
Wow, going to beat that little Southern gentleman, Brian Kelly?
You remember the last time LSU came to this town?
I do, and it was overvalued by a lot.
Hey, that goal line stand was still really cool.
It was.
And there's value to that. Regardless, I think that the Tigers are going to have a special season, and I think it starts with a tidy little 6-0 to start the season.
You said Illinois, Kansas, Kansas State fans are arguing in the YouTube chat?
Well, just they're kind of showing their allegiance,
Okay, fair
which,
enough.
Is nice.
Hey, I like it. I would love if we had more college sports rivalries going on in St. Louis. I would thoroughly enjoy it. I wouldn't necessarily expect that to be going on at this particular moment. I thought it would be Cardinal trade deadline talk. All right, Jackson, Lil Piddles Half and Half coming up on the other side of the break. It's brought to you by Angry Beaver. That's only if Jackson can continue. I mean, we've got a possible knee surgery here.
Do it live on there.
And Good Morning Grant might have to come in and sit there and join me in the second half of the program. I'm like continue to cringe if you're watching on YouTube and you're arguing
better.
about the Wildcats and Jayhawks.
It's like the tendon underneath the knee. That's what's really bothering me, but I'll be all right.
Wow. All right. Well, that's inspiring. Jackson will stick around for the second half of Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals lose yesterday. Final score 3-2 to the Minnesota Twins. They take on the Twins again tonight, 6:45. Your first pitch. That was another Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
You know, for the first time, what do we call this? We call this honesty in media.
Always have.
I peeked in the Balloon Party YouTube chat.
Yeah.
Quite a scene. Big fan. Hello to everybody in there. Oh, I see. You're the only one on camera on the YouTube page.
Probably because the Sports Center update, because it's a little delay.
Did you have WNBA hit?
Just the Cardinal score. There was nothing in basketball news, so.
There's somebody named Lil Beehole.
Yeah. Really
he says, Grant is a hunk. Let's get a producer push-up contest shirtless.
Grant would smoke me.
Is that right, really?
100%. 100%. I would probably come in.
I can just see Grant laughing behind us.
Of the 5 producers, I think I'd come in 3rd.
Oh, rank the producers going topless in a push-up contest.
I'll go Marshy Marsh 1.
Oh, you really like him.
He's big. Good morning, Grant.
YouTube chat.
Good morning, Grant 2. I'll go me 3. T Diddy 4. And Rock Nation 5.
Wow. I think we're going to hear Matt Rocchio's music.
It's fine. He can drop and give me 20 and then to prove me wrong. I got bad, I guess this would be my lats. Not great. I guess it's more my shoulders, but they kind of hurt when I do push-ups.
You're falling apart at 25. This is going to be a tough road to hoe.
Wait till I get plantar fasciitis at 30. It's going to be rough.
Oh, you've already gotten your medical diagnoses?
I got flat feet, and my dad has plantar fasciitis, so yeah.
Tom Summers is in the YouTube chat, and he says the producers in order of hotness: number 1, Marshy; number 2, Grant; number 3, T-Bone; number 4, Rock; number 5, polite, wispy-haired boy.
No shot. I'm not going to rank attractiveness of it. I was just going push-ups, but that's just flat out wrong.
Look, and now as we're talking about doing push-ups, I look up and Molly Querim and Stephen A. Smith are doing push-ups.
Wow. Life imitates art.
What the hell is going on? What was that movie with DiCaprio where it was like introversion?
Inception?
Thank you.
So good. I love Inception.
Chris Russo's out there barking at him to give push-ups. I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah,
We're talking about a push-up contest on our nitwit show, and then I look up and there's Stephen A. Smith making $12 million a year just doing push-ups. This is what happens when there's no NBA and no NFL. Yeah. Stephen A., you mind doing some push-ups while Mad Dog yells at you with his coat because he clearly wants to get out of there?
He's going to hop on the BQE here in about a minute.
Why is he wearing a coat in August in New York?
He's already wearing a suit jacket.
Dan Orlovsky and his stunning development is in the other box. Confused look.
Hell of a head of hair on that Dan Orlovsky, though.
He does. I'm jealous. Maybe that's why I hate. All right, Jackson, it's time for the Angry Beaver. Lil Piddles Half and Half. And once again, hello to Lil Beehole in the YouTube chat.
Yep. Hi, Lil Beehole. Do you think that it is likely that any of the players who were dealt end up back here in the Mound City? Who would be the most likely? Who would be the least? That's a nice vocalized pause.
Thank you. I'm going to go Jordan Montgomery.
Most likely to come back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably say that that's about accurate. And then least likely, Jay Flair?
I would say Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, I think that would be accurate. I still think possibly Hicks, but it depends on what Helsley like. If Helsley...
What is your deal with this Hicks thing? I'm so surprised. You're usually so on things.
Because why not?
Because he has an injury history. He has tough time controlling pitches as a closer. That's problematic. I think the Cardinals kind of know what they got. They obviously knew there wasn't much value there. Hence we're thinking about extending him. I just don't see it. I mean, listen, maybe you'll get to dunk on me in 5 months.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
But it all depends.
Would you like 4-1 odds on Jordan Hicks coming back to the Cardinals?
4-1 odds. I'll do the $10. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
There it is. Booked. What I will
Didn't you put something in Predictionary the other day?
I thought we had something for 20.
Well, you put it in there.
Did I?
Yeah, but
who else would have?
Yeah, right. No, it was Tanner.
T Diddy. No, the only things I see in Predictionary, 2 correct ones, and then 1 still outstanding. Torrey Krug will not play another game for the St. Louis Blues.
I feel like I got a problem with that. God, I like that play too.
Yeah. So I think it depends on Helsley's health. If he comes back and is all good, then no. Why would they bring back Hicks? But if not, familiarity.
Free agent, they need to go out and get 3 starters, and now they're going to spend free agent dollars on Jordan Hicks? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm just Venmo me the $10 now.
We'll
But
see.
hey, maybe you'll be right. What else do we have here going on in this Lil Piddles Angry Beaver half and half?
Going to move a little bit past the Redbirds, but still a Redbird adjacent question.
Okay.
With the Cardinals seemingly flailing and fumbling to the finish line.
Oh, seemingly.
Well, I just never like to paint too wide of a brush. And will be most likely all but mathematically out by the end of August, which is being very generous. Combined with the Missouri Tigers having a soft start to the season and playing in St. Louis.
I like this question. I was actually thinking about exactly where you were going yesterday afternoon.
Sweet. Do you think that we will see a spike in interest in Mizzou football? Very rarely in my lifetime have I seen the Cardinals being a non-factor when Missouri opens up the season, and there seems to be a decent amount of excitement around the Tigers this year. Could this be the perfect eclipse for Missouri's flagpole being fully planted in St. Louis?
Everything you said, I agree with the exception of some excitement regarding Missouri. I don't think that there is any. I think if you're a hardcore Missouri fan and an optimist, which is tough to be both, by the way, usually that is a paradox of some form, that I don't think that there is much excitement. I think, and I'm a Missouri guy, I feel like I got to say that in advance because I know then I will experience some hate from Missouri fans. But my point is, I want, like you were telling me, the YouTube chat was full of people arguing over their college teams, which stunned me in St. Louis. But the reason I bring that up is I think the market is there, but Missouri plays a role in needing to market to St. Louis.
Right.
This is a time, if I were in the athletic department, going, my God, they don't have an NFL team. The Blues aren't starting up for a month and a half, and you're talking about camp then. The Cardinals are done. You're right. In 2007, when it happened, and the Cardinals were also out of it, because in 2013, the Cardinals were in the World Series when they played Auburn. But in 2007, nobody was thinking that was going to happen. I mean, not to that level, to become number one in the country. Hell, the Cardinals were out that year. But there wasn't excitement. I don't think there's excitement this year. I think the excitement can come if they are undefeated going into the LSU game. And the Cardinals, of course, don't have a playoff game that Saturday at home against what would be, ideally, an undefeated LSU team and an undefeated Missouri team. I would say it's actually going to be tougher for LSU to be undefeated than Missouri. They have to play Florida State, and is that in Orlando?
It's in Orlando.
And they have Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Ole Miss all in September, whereas Missouri's real test is going to be K-State and Columbia. And other than that, they should win every game.
Right.
The one road game is Vanderbilt and Nashville. And if you're going to pick one road game in the SEC in the month of September, it would be Vanderbilt and Nashville. So with that said, yes, I love where you're going with this. I think it's a hell of an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's great for City SC.
Yes.
Great for City SC, especially with the way they're playing. I already think, though, there's a hell of a lot of excitement. That there is excitement for, absolutely. But this is an opportunity for Missouri. And I think Missouri fans go, St. Louis, whatever the ill will towards St. Louis is. It takes two to dance, though, man. And this is an opportunity. If I were Missouri, I would go, hey, you want Eli Drinkwitz on? You want Desiree Reed-Francois on? Let's talk about this program, because there is an opportunity on this side of the state. Hey, you got the Chiefs over there. I mean, that's the equivalent of the greatest show on turf 23 years ago here. Yeah. I understand that situation. But here, you haven't had the Rams for a number of years, but the Cardinals have at least been in the mix in September all of the years. This time it's not happening. Seize that opportunity. And that has to be coming from Columbia to play a role in creating that excitement, because this team really could be undefeated at the end of September. And furthermore, you have a game in St. Louis
that's a huge
in
part
late September.
Yeah.
So capitalize on that. Create an SEC-like market in St. Louis. The opportunity is there. And I'll tell you what, if I went to Illinois, I'd be saying the same thing. As a Missouri guy, I think Illinois gets ignored in St. Louis. But as my overall observation on college sports in St. Louis, at the core of it is this. Whereas I think in Atlanta, you didn't have to go to Athens to be a Bulldogs fan.
Sure.
In Florida, you didn't have to go to Gainesville or Tallahassee or Miami to be a fan of the Gators, Seminoles, or Hurricanes, or even the Golden Knights now in Orlando with them going to Big 12. In St. Louis, it's like, well, I didn't go to school there, so I'm not a fan. And it doesn't have the geographic element that a lot of these schools in college football crazed areas have. You know, if you went to U of A, that's one thing, but you could have grown up in Jonesboro and still been a fan of the Razorbacks. Might have been less since you have Arkansas State there. But the point is, that's what college football is. It's not about going to school there. Certainly if you went to school there, your interest level's higher. If you went to Indiana and you live in St. Louis, you might not be a Missouri fan. But that, I think, is something that Missouri has missed out on, and this is an opportunity. And, of course, winning, as Kerry Davis said when we were talking about it when he came into TMA the other week, winning cures everything. But I just saw Jamie Rivers walk outside the...
Yeah, you see how fast he walked past? He knew. He knew.
What did he know? Men
at work.
Well, either way, Jackson, I like your question. I think it's an opportunity. I do.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. And
it is it's also an opportunity for the dogs too, but the dogs are already killing it.
Yeah, that's like they have built in based on what they've done.
Amazing.
All year.
I mean, that they've been around operating for 4 or 5 months and, shockingly in first place, but to their credit, there is a market. Why? Because the atmosphere is incredible.
Yep.
And certainly people are soccer fans, but it's a ticket you want because in its experience, you rarely get that kind of atmosphere in a St. Louis sporting event. Blues Stanley Cup playoffs, Cardinal playoffs, a Pujols chase of 700. But other than that kind of energy with everybody standing, well, that's what a college football Saturday can be like. But you can't have games at 11 o'clock, and you got to market to people. Because most people in St. Louis right now, unlike me, don't give a damn about Missouri football. Now, if they start winning, they will, but you got to have people talking about it year-round and being excited about it. That's how you create a casual fan becoming a hardcore fan. Your thoughts are welcome, 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line, and, of course, the YouTube chat. This is Balloon Party here on 101 ESPN.
Hey, St. Louis, I'm here to talk to you about Circa Sportsbook, where they got $14 million in guaranteed prizes. That's right, $14 million in guaranteed prizes with their 2 major contests this fall, including the Circa Millions. There's $6 million in guaranteed prizes in that contest. It's $1,000 per entry, max of 5 entries per person. You must register in person at Circa Sportsbook in Nevada. You pick 5 teams against the spread every single week. Winner takes home $1 million. There are quarterly and season-long prizes to go with it. There's also the Circa Survivor Pool with $8 million guaranteed to the winner or winners. $1,000 per entry, max of 10 entries per person. Pick one team straight up every week to win. If the team loses or ties, the entry is eliminated. You can pick each team once in a season. Go 20-0 or be the last person standing to win. It's all available over at Circa Sportsbooks, and weekly picks can be made through a proxy that you'll register with from anywhere. Again, $14 million in guaranteed prizes over at Circa Sportsbook.
Jackson, how are things in the YouTube chat?
Fire on all cylinders. Some good college football discussions. I like the YouTube chat is like a better conversation going on than what's going on in the show.
What?
Right. I know. Well, we didn't get Boy George on, and that's on me.
That is on you.
Yeah,
Debbie Gibson will join us tomorrow, so that'll be fun to talk it over with. I guess John Denton will be with us tomorrow, though.
He will be.
How about that?
Love to get John Denton on, talk with him.
Jackson, the Angry Beaver, Lil Piddles Half and Half. Question number 3, 4, Nurse, 5.
Bill. All right. Let's go with this one. I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat for just a moment, as I feel the 2023 baseball season has caused me to become skeptical of the front office and their transparency to the fan base. When looking logistically...
Can you repeat that?
Sure. I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat for just a moment, as I feel the 2023 baseball season has caused me to become skeptical of
okay. Because I feel like the skepticism of the Cardinal front office has been there for a while. That's why I wanted to make sure I heard it correctly.
For sure.
Carry on. Off you go.
When looking logistically and reverse engineering the statements by President of Baseball Operations, John Mozeliak, we clearly retain his sentiment that they are looking to retool to be competitive in 2024. However, he has also said that they are looking to 2025 and 2026 as well. Does it seem to you that the Cardinals are more looking to the next few years over really looking to be competitive next season? If they were really trying to be competitive next season, don't you think the trade deadline would have gone somewhat differently?
No, on the last question, because I don't know if they're looking to be competitive in 2024, the trade deadline would have gone differently?
Yes. Do you think it would have looked differently?
I really do understand how can you be competitive in 2024 if you're going to part ways with Nolan Arenado or Paul Goldschmidt, or of course both of them. I understand that. I don't think it's something you dismiss. What my contention, just for the record on that, is I think you listen to everything and you don't just say, we will not trade them out of hand. I think that's just the worst way to do business. Why in the world would you do that? You can certainly have a private conversation with the guys and say, here's the situation that we're in. What do you think? From our standpoint, if you're open to going somewhere, we might be in a spot where we're far away, so we're just going to field offers, but, we certainly have anything against you guys. Either way, point being, no, I just don't know what if they only were going to trade rentals, then this is about the return you're going to get.
No doubt.
So from that standpoint, I don't see it that way. I think the credibility, the skepticism toward the Cardinal organization is that they are comfortable and the Blues are hustlers, for lack of a better term. Doug Armstrong is active. Tom Stillman is active. The Cardinals know they're the kings of the hill, and therefore they can just field a competitive team and hope that things work out in October like they did in 2006 and 2011, but they're not going to go for it. And that is at the core of the issue, and that issue started well before 2023. I read from John Mozeliak's comments at the winter warm-up this year. Let's start with the question, will payroll go up, right? And I answered yes. Has payroll gone up? Yes. Okay, now.
I love when you ask yourself the question.
Did it go up as high as your guys' expectations or fans? That's in the eye of the beholder, right? Like, it doesn't mean that we weren't looking to invest in other things. We already touched on that. Some of the areas we did. That right there is not possible because he said areas, and there was an area.
Right.
And it was catcher.
Indeed.
And it was an overpayment for a guy who became a corner outfielder for an hour. Now, unfortunately, we didn't achieve that. But from the simple question, did payroll go up? Payroll has gone up. God, I hammered that when it was said. I'm just like, that's just so, you have to be aware of, even if you disagree with it, you have to be aware of what your audience, who pays your salary, what they are thinking. Mm-hmm. And that is a tone-deaf comment. Because you don't say payroll is going to go up, and then you do one move, and people are unhappy about it, and you go, okay, yes, they're wrong. You can go internally, well, they're wrong. Payroll did go up. Now, you can say, I understand when I said what I said in October, it was something that led people to believe we were going to be more aggressive. And candidly, I thought we were going to be more aggressive, but the market shifted, and we had some things take place that we didn't see coming. And with the benefit of hindsight, I wish I would have said something differently, because now I know people think that we changed our course of action, when in reality, the course of action was changed for us. And for that, I apologize. But we're confident on this team, and we believe we will be in a position to be aggressive at the deadline because we didn't go out and do everything that we thought we were going to do this offseason. And then you're not saying you were wrong.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
And
that's
you take
to me,
accountability.
You take accountability. And what does it matter?
Right.
But it helps create a relationship of trust between a fan base and the organization. And I think that is at the core of what the Cardinals have right now. The Blues just had a disaster of a season.
Oh, yeah.
But yet they have equity in St. Louis. The Cardinals didn't have equity going into this season with many people in St. Louis. This is not new. It's just intensified. And I think one of the core issues is the lack of trust between the organization and the fan base. Time for us to wrap it up. BK and Ferrari are up next. For Action Jackson, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party on 101 ESPN.